Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bluddworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video is a recap of our first session of my newest campaign, which I have on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the game system that I'm using is Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition. The setting is the Greyhawk setting, and the way I advertised this was I advertised it as old school AD&D First Edition. Now, that might sound like it's redundant because, of course, if you're running AD&D First Edition, it's got to be old school because that's an older system. But what I meant by old school was that I was really trying to capture that old school feel of it, and just the dynamic between the dungeon master and the players that takes place, as well as some of the even older traditions that I kind of learned from reading various resources and accounts of how D&D was played in the mid and later 70s, and really how, just a reminiscence of how I played back in, from 1977 on through, roughly 1989 was the time frame that I was playing Dungeons and Dragons, pretty much straight through with very few breaks. So I really wanted to capture or recapture that kind of a feel to it. So I put that advertisement out there, and within a few days had 12 players interested, signed up. Now, we ended up only launching session one with 9 players, which is still a lot of players. A couple had timing constraints. One didn't realize the time zone difference, and then the other two, either it just didn't pan out or they didn't show up, which is something that if you're running online games, you're going to come across that. And so I'm really happy with starting with 9 players. So I'm really excited about that. It is the largest group that that I will be running through a AD&D campaign pretty much throughout the 40 years that I've been playing. So I'm kind of excited about it, and but there's a little bit of trepidation also involved with it. So hopefully the players bring their A game. Hopefully I can continue to prepare for them, bringing my A game, and hopefully the experience is good for everyone involved. So I'm really looking forward to it. But still, like I said, a little bit nervous about all of the all of the cylinders firing properly throughout the campaign. This is planned to be a very long campaign, so I'm really my intention is to run this group of players and their characters from level 1 through level 14. Now, I can almost guarantee you, and I will guarantee them, that at some point characters are going to die. It just happens, and so just be prepared for that. And because we are running official adventures. For the most part, I may create an adventure here or there in order to kind of fill in some of the gaps, but some of the officially licensed and released AD&D First Edition adventures were pretty tough, even for the level ranges that they were running with. So I have very little doubt that the players, even though there are 9 characters in this party, that they will have challenges that even their sheer numbers are not going to be able to easily overcome. So looking forward to that as well. So I'm going to switch gears here and talk about the setting. So the setting, for the first time, I decided that I was going to have the party begin in the country of Yeomanry, or Yeomanry, Um, and the reason why is I really like the description of the place. All right, so Yeomanry is an independent democratic republic governed by an elected freeholder who consists of diplomacy and negotiated treaties and commands the military, a council of common gross spokesmen, as well as a parliamentary legislative body. And I just like the fact that they were going to start off in a country that is not ripped with turmoil and war and that kind of thing. So breaking away a little bit from that cliche, but or trope. And then the other thing that I liked about it is that the population of this country is it's 79% human, and I do like to have human centric human centric worlds, world settings, and the reason being is that I like for demi-humans, especially player character demi-humans, to really stand out as something somewhat special and unique and something a little bit more fantastic, let's say, than what the NPCs might be accustomed to coming into contact with. However, that being said, the population is 79% human, 9% halfling, scout halfling in particular. It is 5% high elf. It is 3% dwarfs in the hills or hill dwarfs, 2% gnomes, half elves are only 1%, and half orcs are only 1%. So you basically have all of the first edition races present in some number in this in this country, and so it would easily accommodate a party of mixed races and certainly mixed classes. Once you have 9 player characters, you're going to have a wide variety of classes with some overlap, which this group, and I will go over this group, certainly does have. I then explained to the players why I chose this location. So I wanted them to know that for the reasons I just cited, to you, I also explained to them that this is why this location was selected, and and I wanted them to just understand and realize that their large group coming together, even though they're coming from different walks of life and different racial backgrounds and different, you know, certainly different goals, that once they come together and start working together, they're going to start to develop common goals, and hopefully that will create a very strong dynamic within the group, even though it is a large group. So that's another thing that you always have to be kind of mindful of, is the fact that when you are DMing for a very large group of players and their characters, that you do have to work at getting it all to work, in mesh with each other and create synergies, and your players hopefully will be encouraged, or they come to the table with this experience already, that they'll start to coordinate with each other through their characters, and so their characters will actually say, hey, if you're going to do this, I'm going to follow that action up with this action. And we already had 2 clerics in the group speak to one another on that very thing as well. So when I go over the characters, I will talk about each one, and how each one kind of stood out. And even if I don't specifically mention why a character, didn't stand out very much, that just means that with a large group, you have to be more cognizant of the fact that you want to get a little something from everyone and just keep on cycling through the entire group in order to do that. So let's move on. So going through each of the characters, because I use Roll20 for two things, or maybe three things. I use it to hand out various handouts either to the entire group or individually. So that's obviously electronically sent out. And so everyone got in a journal entry the introduction of this adventure and what's actually bringing them together. And then later on, I may choose to, and I'm never going to reveal this to them. That's really up to them to decide. But sometimes a player character might get an individual journal entry that they can choose to share with the rest of the party, or they can keep it to themselves for whatever reason. And that's something that I like about using Roll20, is that you have that ability to reach out and have a one-to-one chat with someone without everybody else at the table either knowing about it or unless the player decides that his or her character is going to share that information. So they all woke up one morning at whatever location they were at the time, because the party was not together yet. They all woke up in the morning with a mysterious box left at their doorstep, or the door to the room that they were in, and each opened it up. Each read the short notice telling them where to go. Very vague notice. Each was given a candle that they were instructed to bring with them, and then once they traveled to the town of Westburn, they were to go to a particular tavern. The tavern was called the Laughing Toad, and they were to sit down wherever they wished to in the common room of the tavern and light this candle. And as they survey the room, if they see anyone else with a similar candle lit in front of them, that they can be comforted, and that they could approach that individual without fear that that they're approaching the wrong parties. And then if everyone lit their candle, they would then be invited into a private back room where they would sit and they would start to learn more about their impending adventure, which is basically how it occurred. So all the players did come together. Each player, I went down. What are you going to do? What is your character going to do? You see this, how are you going to respond, and so on. And this went back and forth for a little while. And once again, as I go through each character, I will explain kind of like how they interacted with the rest of the group. Or, in this instance, they might have, just kind of tagged along with the rest of the group without making any kind of a major display of themselves in the tavern, and so they kind of fell somewhere in between or in the middle of the pack, and so didn't have their opportunity, or didn't take their opportunity to shine at that point, but rather just followed along. And again, with a large group, it's a very common thing to see as well. So let me introduce you to the characters. So here we have each of the characters. Now the characters listed here on the far left column, we have Urias. He's a human paladin, and the players. This is their Roll20. So Calster is playing Urias, the human paladin. Almeric is a gray elf fighter, magic user, and this player played in my previous campaign That was a second edition campaign, and basically it was really less of a campaign and more of testing out a module or an adventure that I was writing. And so he had come on over, and so he's playing the same character that he was there, just modified to be first edition, and he is going to carry with him some of the experience and I believe a +1 magic dagger and some scrolls that he picked up in the last adventure that we ran. Mirador is a human cleric, and let me pull up his deity. I'm pretty sure he's Farlagan. So yes, and his his main standout trait actually is that because I use comeliness, his main standout trait is that he's not very charismatic and he's ugly as hell. Right? He only has a 7 comeliness, so he only has a 9 charisma. So he's not a very charismatic person, and the way that he played that or he reflected that is that his character likes to keep his face kind of shrouded or cloak, wearing a hooded cloak to cover up his face. Not so much that he's embarrassed, but because he doesn't want to be disturbing to others. All right, so it's a kind of a more altruistic reasoning for wearing the mask or the covering. Continuing on, we have Word. So Word is also a returning player to me. He likewise played in my my second edition playtest of an adventure module. He's a human magic user, as you can see, and once they do their final calculations, both he and Almeric, although Almeric is dual class, so I'm not quite sure that he will level up, but Word might very well become second level fairly soon. Which will be great because a first level magic user only has 4 hit points, and so that will be an interesting thing to see where he stands with that. We move on to Carr. So Carr is a gray elf druid, and he stood out for 2 reasons. Number one, he is very, very scruffy, certainly like a druid of the woods. And one of the first things that he wanted to do was he wanted to attract a pet. All right. He was really looking for a wolf when they were traveling after they already got their adventure and they knew kind of the general direction that they needed to travel. He started looking for some kind of animal that he could befriend, and so it just so happens that recently, a couple of weeks ago, there was a mangy coyote in my neighbor's, on my neighbor's front yard, and really out in front of my house. That's how close this was, and so I was like, you know what? I decided you're not going to find a wolf, but you're going to find a mangy coyote, and so yes, he was able to attract this coyote, and and befriend him, and then Urias, the human paladin, actually cured the disease of any. Of course, he named his coyote Wiley. So Urias cured the disease of Wiley. Now we have our only halfling in the group, and that's Crandon, and he kind of blended in with the rest of the group, so he really didn't stand out very much. So he's and that's we'll see in the future if that becomes his kind of personality, is that he's always kind of blend in to the rest of the larger group, and that might be because he's a halfling, so he's harder to see amongst all of these other much taller individuals, or the fact that he's a thief, and so that's how he kind of just by nature or by profession, he kind of tries to remain subdued and low key. So be interesting to see how that plays out in the future as well. Then we have Kel Burn. So Kel Burn is a human monk, and I specifically mentioned to Glow, who is the player, that I'd like to see how the monk class from Oriental Adventures works out in this situation, and so that's what he's using. He's using the monk class from the Oriental Adventures, not the monk class from the Player's Handbook. So that may be something interesting to see how they play out differently in future episodes and recaps and such. And I may intermix some live gameplay as well. So I'm just not going to focus whole episodes on live gameplay. Next we have Breeze, a Elf Cleric. All right, so he is an Elf Cleric, and let's see. His deity is Solinar Thalandira. So Solinar Thalandira, and that's the reason why you see him with a bow, because priests of this, or clerics of that particular elven deity, are their primary weapon is a bow, and so that's why he's a cleric with a bow. And then finally, wrapping up the group, we have Angus Blackthorne, a human ranger. He's played by Kelly, and I believe he's actually, as far as a class, he's actually the strongest in the party. So that will be really interesting to see how that plays out. So he does have exceptional strength, 18 something. I'd have to double check. 1883 strength. So he's very, very strong, and so but his primary weapon is a bow, and particularly a short bow. So we'll see how he continues to play this character out. He has a very high dexterity as well, so he's going to be the main, or one of the main combatants. We have a lot of mixture in this group, so it'll be interesting to see. So I'm going to switch views again. So they started out, and they left their location, and this was a little bit over a 4-hour session, and so I wanted to give them a little taste of combat, even though they weren't traveling very, very far. I wanted to just see how as a group they responded to a combat situation, and so they encountered some bandits. Neither party had surprise, and so it just came down to initiative. And what I did was, just because I wanted to get a marching order as far as initiative is concerned as well, and so I have a different marching order for initiative than I do for how they're actually in formation, or how they walk and how they're going to act. But I have initiative based on their dexterity scores, and then I will have another order of sequence set up on perhaps some of their other attributes, whether it be their charisma for leadership choices and so on, just so I can give every character a chance that their particular attribute that they might have the highest score in amongst the entire group would have the opportunity to shine in certain things where they're the ones making those decisions, or they're the ones that get to act first based on their high attribute score. So that's another thing that I'm looking to do. So back to the combat. So they were attacked by eight brigands, and I didn't make them very strong. I just wanted to see how the group would respond, and to get a general idea of whether or not they will start to coordinate with one another and such. And they steamrolled them. All right, the player characters, just a group of 9. Obviously, they the archers took out one right away, or the missile firers took out one right away with his first shot. Then the other two, one hit and wounded, and then the second killed him out. So all 3 fired. Then our magic users got involved, and the first was the druid, who entangled 3 of the charging brigands, and then magic user then cast a sleep spell and put to sleep one of the entangled, and then the other 2 that were charging. And so they effectively, in the first round, before our melee combatants even had a chance to engage, uh, they they wiped out the entire group, or captured. They actually captured 5 of the guys, and would end up turning them in. So they, I mean, really, really effective. And it was something that, as a DM now, I realize and see that a party of 9 is a very large group, and some of these minor challenges are going to be even more minor. And so I'm going to look at the adventures that they're going on, including the official adventures, the official modules, and try to see a little bit ahead of time and see, well, is this going to be challenging enough? Is this still a major challenge that they may encounter, and that particular combat might go sideways on them, and so on. So just to look at, I'm not going to change it so much, then just to try to anticipate where where the challenges will lie, where some of the obstacles that they face will still be something that might result in them being at real risk, and other challenges that might just be a cakewalk for them. So it's something, when you're dealing with a group of players, and player expertise also comes into play. And if they're really working together, that means that I might be able to take them as a group of first level characters and put them into an adventure that's really designed for third level characters. And their numbers and their cohesion and working together may actually make that less challenging than just the level bands might indicate. So once again, really excited about this campaign. Um, it looks like we have a great group of players, and hopefully moving forward, we can sustain this, going through the first several adventures. And there may be room for, as people's work schedules and everything change, sometimes we may lose players. So I may open up the campaign later on for people to fill in the group, but I will probably let it run with 9, and then if it does decline down to 8 or 7, just keep it, at that point. I would not look to add new players in until we start hitting down into until like the middle number of players, 4, 5, especially if we don't have good coverage of classes as well. So once again, I thought it was a really good first session. I'm looking forward to the second session. I know that there were some everyone seemed to have a good time. So hopefully that was a genuine expression that they all had a great time. I welcome all of them to come in on this video and to just comment. And I did get one comment that I really took to heart and was a probably one of the best things I've heard in a long time, and that was that he felt that this was the first time in a long time that he was playing genuinely playing Dungeons and Dragons. So that to me was a huge praise, and I hope that I can continue to bring that kind of a feel to our games going forward. So once again, thanks for joining. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions or any particular content towards recaps that you would like to see in the future, please feel free to leave those comments in there. If any of my players come in and they want to make comments and make suggestions about where they would like to see or how they would like to see these recaps done, absolutely feel free to go through there or go through the Discord channel or just reach out to me in some way and let me know. And then when we do recap number 2 and so on, we will grow, and I will adapt these presentations in the future. So again, thanks for joining. I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon, especially my player group there. I'm looking forward to next Monday, and we will get session 2 and start delving into into the unknown, search of the unknown. So we are running B1, in case you're wondering, and then I'm planning on running B2 following that, and then we'll see where the party looks to go from there. But those are at least the first 2 adventure modules that I'm looking to run. So again, thanks for joining. Have a great day. Stay safe out there and keep on gaming. Take care.